doubt, God, give me faith. In my worry, I'll seek your face. Let your perfect love make my path straight. In my life, God, lead the way. I wanna run with you all my life. I wanna know your truth to my mind. Through the badlands, I lift my eyes. You lead me through, you're by my side. No more lies, I'll live in truth. No more fear, you will come through. God, I live my life to honor you. All my life I'll follow you. Yeah, all my life I'll follow you. I wanna run with you all my life. I wanna know your truth to my mind. Through the badlands, I lift my eyes. You lead me through, you're by my side. Yeah, you lead me through, you're by my side. I'm laying it down, I'm trading it up. I wanna be more like Jesus. I'm laying it down, I'm trading it up. I wanna be more like Jesus. Laying it down, I'm trading it up. I wanna be more like Jesus. Laying it down, I'm trading it up. I wanna be more like Jesus. I wanna run with you all my life. I wanna know your truth to my mind. Through the badlands, I lift my eyes. You lead me through, you're by my side. Yeah, you lead me through, you're by my side. You lead me through, you're by my side.
Hi guys, my name's Greg Cousins. I'm Paula's husband, whom you may have met before. Today for the Kids Church lesson, we're looking at the book of Exodus. We're in chapter 16. And we catch up with the Israelites. They're about a month and a half out of Egypt, wandering into a place called the wilderness of sin. Now, this verse starts speaking about how they grumbled against God to Moses and Aaron. Now, that word grumbled is really important because I know I've done it a lot, and I'm not sure if you know what it means. So let's start there. Have you guys ever been really hungry at home? And you go and speak to mom, and mom looks at you and says, dinner's in an hour, just wait. But you go on and say, but mom, I'm so hungry, and I could just have a banana, or what about some popcorn? And mom just says no. Well, this is very much like what the Israelites were doing. So we're going to read what they were saying to Moses and Aaron in verse 3. It says, the Israelites said to them, it would have been better if the Lord had killed us in the land of Egypt. There we had meat to eat. We had all the food we wanted, but you have brought us into this desert, and you will starve us to death here. The Israelites were literally grumbling they would rather be slaves back in Egypt than be people in the desert under God's providence. They were just not trusting God. But they did have a good point. They were running out of food. So let's have a look and see what God did. We're going to read this from verse 4. The Lord said to Moses, I will cause food to fall like rain from the sky. This food will be for all of you. Every day, the people must go out and gather what they need for that day. I will do this to see if the people will do what I teach them. So God gave them a very specific instruction along with the blessing. They were to go out and gather only one day's portion of food. In this way, God could test them. He could test them to see if they would obey his word and trust him daily. So Moses and Aaron told the people what the Lord said. And we're going to read this in verse 12. And it says, I have heard the grumblings of the people of Israel. So tell them, at twilight you will eat meat, and every morning you will eat all the bread you want. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God. And so what happened? It happened. God sent quail that evening to cover the camp. Now a quail is like a small chicken, so he gave the people meat to eat. And that night they ate it. And the next morning when they woke up, there was bread on the ground for them to collect. It tasted like wafers made with honey, and the Israelites called it manna. But did they all follow God's instructions? No. Some people tried to gather extra for the next day. And what happened to it? Let's read and find out in verse 20. And it says, but some of the people did not listen to Moses. They kept part of it to eat the next morning, but it became full of worms and began to stink. So Moses was angry with the people. God was making sure that the people would have to trust him every single day for their daily needs. But on the sixth day, the people were commanded to collect enough for 2 days. The sixth day was the day before the Sabbath, the day of rest. So do you think the food they collected on the sixth day would be filled with worms the day after? Of course not. But let's not take my word for it. Let's go back to the Bible and read it in verse 24. And it says, so the people saved it until the next morning, and as Moses had commanded. And none of it began to stink or have worms in it. Moses told the people, eat the food you gathered yesterday, for today is the Sabbath, the Lord's day of rest. So you will not find any in the field today. You should gather food for 6 days, but on the seventh day it is the Sabbath, a day of rest, and you will not find food on the ground. So what do you think the people did on the seventh day? Do you think they went out to try and collect manna on the Sabbath? Yes, of course they did. But there was no manna because it was God's day of rest. After this, God told Moses and Aaron to collect a portion of manna to be kept so that all the people of Israel could see it and remember how God had provided for them. He did this for so long. Let's go and look at the Bible and find out exactly how long that was. So we're going to read verse 35. And verse 35 says, the Israelites ate manna for 40 years. They ate it until they came to the land where they settled. They ate manna until they came to the edge of the land of Canaan, the promised land. So God provided for the Israelites every day for 40 years, teaching his people to trust him daily. Can everyone see how amazing God is? He will provide for his people.